Hi, this is the Be Well with Michelle Greenwell podcast. Our heartwarming conversation is designed to lift you on your wellness journey. Grab your cup of tea and enjoy the podcast.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell, and this is part 2 of our trilogy, Beyond the Physical, looking at the experience of wellness. And in our first episode, we explored the world of bioenergetic wellness, how people are transforming their lives through subtle and very powerful techniques, which are balancing emotions, releasing tension, and restoring energy flow. We heard incredible stories and insights from Dr. Denise Cambiotti, founder of Muscle Tuners International, and I'll say Dr. Kate Montgomery. I know naturopathic doctors don't follow that title, but I'm going to say that. And you're a pioneer in integrative and natural health. Today, Denise and Kate return to take us a step further. We're going to explore what it means to do body maintenance and how that is part of a living wellness plan. We'll be talking about what it means to maintain health before the illness is going to arrive, and then we can actually maybe convince it doesn't need to be there, and then how a daily practice of awareness, energy balancing, and intention can change everything about how we live and how we feel. Before we dive in, we need our tea ritual. This is one of my favorite ways to anchor being present and connected in body, mind, and spirit. So, Kate, I'm going to ask you first, what did you put into your teacup today?
Well, I have a jasmine silver green tea. It comes from the Fujian province of China. They harvest their green tea leaves and then add jasmine buds to it. It is wonderful fragrance, and I usually do it as a breakfast one, so it's very nice.
Beautiful, beautiful. And do you have a special mug today?
No, I have my same mug. I'm sorry. It's still the same.
That's totally fine. I'm just asking.
I'm limited on mugs where I live. I only have a couple, and this is the one I use most of the time.
Perfect. It's good because if I recollect, it's the oceany color. If I remember, we brought in water. Yeah. And then you've got the jasmine and the green tea. So beautiful. Okay. And Denise, what have you got in your mug today?
Well, I looked in my cupboard and went, ooh, I have a bag of Cape Breton, the autograph tea, in honor of Natalie McMaster, a wonderful Canadian artist. And when I opened this package, I got to do it again. The aroma of this one is unlike anything. Like I could just go dive in there and play for a long time. I'd probably get drunk in about a minute. It smells absolutely beautiful. And I know that there are affirmations on the packages. Oh, you can't see me holding it up. But the affirmation before, I know last time you prompted me, what is it? This one supports us to drink intentionally and remind ourselves that each of us has unique gifts for others to treasure. Create your special signature for others to be inspired. I love to bring this energy into this conversation today.
That's a beautiful choice. And I really try to hold on to that idea of what gifts do I have that I might be not sharing? And if I share them, who's going to be impacted and how far will that ripple go? And that's so beautiful to our conversation.
I also chose it because it has a high degree of ginkgo leaves, which for me really does something for my brain, even as just a tea. And it's got a lot of other yummy things, including pumpkin, which is perfect at this time of the year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And the mug, do you have a special mug today?
Oh, this is a gift for my sons from Christmas about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's well worn. And I really love that they chose this for me. It was a thoughtful gift. And it has a loose leaf strainer and the whole thing to it. So they got my number back then.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I had a power outage yesterday, and so what can you do when you have a power outage? You can bag tea because the scale is by battery. So I was bagging playtime tea, which I thought was fortuitous for today because I made this blend in honor of Dr. Gregory Webb and our colleague and mentor, and this was in honor of some of the things he enjoyed. And it includes apple blossoms that come from my tree. So the affirmation is every day is precious and inspiring when offering love and joy to others in all that you do. And if we combine that with what we've all brought to the table today for this conversation about body maintenance and living wellness, there's just so much that we want to share with people and that we want to offer, knowing that lives can be changed if people really want to engage with us and really want to take in these tools and tips that we're bringing to them. So that's part of playtime. But the other thing is it's chocolate. So it's chocolate tea. And some people will go, oh, chocolate tea, I don't think I could do that. When I sip on chocolate tea, I feel like I've had the chocolate treat. I've had no sugar added, and I just feel pampered. So this one is a hazelnut chocolate with peppermint, and then, like I said, the apple blossom. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what that brings. Hazelnut and chocolate are going to awaken our hearts and remind us that pleasure and play are an essential part of wellness. And I think for many of us, the to-do list gets too long. We have peppermint, which is also in the autograph because Natalie's favorite tea is peppermint. So that was the highlight for that autograph tea. Peppermint brings clarity and energy, clearing the mind and opening the breath. And it's an herb that a lot of people use for refreshment and for resetting. And then the apple blossoms, these smell so incredible in the spring, symbolize renewal, love, and connection to nature's cycles, the cycles of life, reminding us that healing is a process. It has to do with some blooming, some resting, and some blooming again. So as we sip, just get that gentle feeling that comes from pampering. Already you've both been holding your mug, bringing it in, and this is so important for a wellness conversation because it starts us off. As soon as we smell that, we bypass the nervous system, we go into the limbic system, we connect to the motor system, and that means we're ready for action in a way that isn't because we're anxious. It's in a way because we're calmed. So with lightness and curiosity, let's dive into our conversation. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Oh, yeah. So first part, we want to shift a paradigm. We want to talk about what's broken in our health culture, which is for so many people with anxiety, the high levels of stress, the mental challenges people are facing. And that's just at the tip of the iceberg for all of the complaints that people have. So Denise, since the paradigm of the medical model is to address symptoms and illness, our society often believes we don't need to do much unless something goes wrong. Then we get into action and then we line up our appointments and we're driving to appointments and interrupted by things. How does this model create illness in our society? Not that it has the illness there, but it creates the illness. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, how long are you going to give me? Certainly, everybody has an awareness that there are things we should be doing for ourselves, but we get busy and we have things that are more fun or more interesting or more profitable or, right? Obligations we must do, all those things. I was completely oblivious, as I mentioned in the first episode, that when I walked into the chiropractor's office with the pain in my neck and the chronic headaches, like, oh my goodness, the headaches would never go away. I was completely oblivious that that was probably being driven by my chronic constipation. And people in the wellness field go, well, of course, there's a connection. If you're constipated, you're intoxicating yourself. Stuff gets in your bloodstream that doesn't belong there. Some of it can get through the blood-brain barrier, and boy, does that irritate your brain, right? Also, if the neck's out of alignment, your ligaments, everything. So there's a structural connection to how your head is sitting. So if it's not, or if it's pinching off blood vessels or lymphatic or glymphatic vessels coming out of the brain, you're got toxicity in your brain. But nobody is learning this in school. So you finally learn about it when you get the proverbial 2x4 across the head. And another example, I had a gentleman, senior guy who came in. I saw him years ago, and I said, are you noticing the change of the muscle testing and how your body's working differently now? And a muscle that was like floppy before, now you can hold it. And he's going, says, how's that shoulder? And he's going, and I'm going, oh, okay. Anyways, he came back a week later, had another appointment. And at the end of the second appointment, he finally said, you've done more for me in 2 appointments than I think it was 15 years he'd had that pain in the shoulder. Been everywhere, done everything. So he's off and happy. His shoulder's not bothering him. And then I get a call from him one day. I'm in trouble. I bent over to pick something up off the ground. And we're talking something that is just a few ounces. And he threw his back out.
Mm-hmm.
You Google on the internet what is the most chronic thing that keeps people off work. It's lower back injuries. And it goes across pretty much any type of work you do. You don't have to be a factory or warehouse worker. You don't have to be a construction worker. You could be a nurse. You could be an office worker. We need to learn to head these things off at the pass, because if we don't, now we've got weeks or months of rehabilitation in front of us, very potentially, right? So the paradigm is I'm going to let somebody else take care of me when something breaks. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Got to turn that one upside down on our head, because it is very unpleasant to be laid up when you've got a life. People are depending on you. And now you were too busy to take care of yourself before. Well, life's going to make sure you're not busy now. So that's my short sermon from my soapbox. I hope that it hits a note for some people who have realized I've been procrastinating, and maybe I should be doing a bit more. Maybe I should be finding a nutritionist, a fitness trainer, a chiropractor, a massage therapist. Maybe I should go check in with a naturopathic doctor, just because I feel good. Don't really need to see you, but what do I do at this stage of my life to keep going so I keep feeling good?
Mm-hmm. And then that brings us to the model of what the medical model is, looking at our symptoms, and it's looking for the physical aspects, and we're asking for a physical response. We're asking for a medical response to come back. And a lot of people will say, I don't like the medical response, so I'm going to ignore it. But then they don't fill it in with anything else. And so this is the paradigm that we're really talking about. Hey, you're nodding your head. Do you want to jump in here with what that looks like when the medical model answers aren't there?
After 14 years in a hospital, and then to jump into holistic health without even knowing anything about it, never had been introduced to it at all, other than my mom took me to a chiropractor when I was in high school, who was the only in town. And this is back in the 60s. And so it wasn't really known to go to that. And I was surprised my mom took me. But I played a lot of basketball, I played a lot of sports. And so that was her response. My mother was also athletic. But when I went into IPSB and started experiencing touch as a way to start to unravel stress in my life. And that was the accumulation of life starting from when you're born to symptoms that you have as a child, like, you know, any surgery you have leaves a mark. Anything that you've ever had done, you fall, you hurt yourself, you get up and you keep going, but those imprints are still there. They're deep in your head and your brain and your cells, and they're a memory. When you get older, those little memories seem to crumb up, and then you have a pain somewhere. Maybe it's a back pain or a hand pain or something, a knee pain. But you think, well, do I take an aspirin? Do I go get a cortisone shot? What do I do? Because that's the medical model. But in my life, I was so lucky to find holistic health at a time when things were changing dramatically for me. And that experience set me on a path to listen and feel and acknowledge a pain, or something's out of balance. If I can feel that I'm a long leg, short leg, or it's affecting my low back, or, I use my hands in massage, is that going to create something else? So I began to listen to my body. And that's the message in body maintenance, is that listen, have curiosity, but listen to it. If you have a pain, don't ignore it, because it will only get worse. It will compound itself and it becomes 100% instead of 10%. And then you'll start limping or you'll start having more aches and pains. If you acknowledge that and seek out practitioners or books on what we're learning, what we're saying here today on specialized kinesiology and special techniques that will actually change it to a balance in your body, to homeostasis, so that you start to function more 100% than 10%. If you look at techniques like Denise and I do, and everybody else that's in this field, it's simple. You can do a simple little technique, rub a point, and boom, I'm better. Pain is a symptom that something's wrong. Do not ignore it. I have people that have back pain, but it's usually sacral pain. And so, S1 through 5, you go down and you just rub right down along the edges of the sacrum. If it's painful, keep doing it, because you have a blocked energy field that needs to be opened up. And when you keep doing that, guess what happens? Your back pain might go away, your sacral pain might go away, and it'll lessen each time you do it. And so, you can't be afraid to touch. I think that's the thing that I grew up with, was fear of touch. You had two touches, abuse and sexual. You didn't have therapeutic. And so when I come into holistic health and into massage therapy, that was therapeutic. I'd never had a massage at 35. And what an amazing thing to open up to. And my class was very interesting because everybody was the same age, in their, I would say, mid-30s. Women, and we're all nurses and physical. It was very interesting. The medical model had moved into massage. And we all experienced pretty much the same thing. When you got touched through massage, you started to open up those cells, and every memory of something that had happened to you came out. And I just remember going to class that I'd walk in and everybody was crying. It's like everybody was releasing something, and I was so stalwart. I'm not going to let go of this. I'm not going to do this. And then finally, somewhere around, I don't know, the 6th or 7th day, I came in and I just started crying. And it was like all this release just started floating. And then we all massaged each other, and it was like an opening. Release, relief, all of it. And so people need not to be afraid of touching themselves. If I have a pain, touch it. If I rub a neurolymphatic reflex point, rub it. Understand what's really going on with your body. That's what body maintenance is about. Understanding that you can heal your own body just by touch. So health at your fingertips, exactly what it is, at your fingertips.
And I think what we should bring forward here is, both of you have mentioned it in the way you've answered things, is that it isn't just physical. There's this emotional component, and it's within the tissue. And the medical model isn't looking at that, because that would come underneath psychology. And psychology is looking at it if they go down the psychosocial, they've got all different kinds of titles they bring into it. But if you go in because you have low back pain, they're looking at structurally, what have you done? And that emotional piece, if you release the emotional piece first, you might release the pain. You don't require the medical model. Or you release the emotional piece and something is still sitting there. You do have a pulled something. They now have an opportunity to get at it, but it's not hidden behind the emotional piece. So I just wanted to bring that forward for people. So it brings us into this conversation, and I wanted to bring forward Denise presented for World Mental Health Day, which was on October the 10th. And her topic was the triad of health, body, mind, and spirit. And so if you're interested in learning more about how that piece works and the balance that it needs to be in body, mind, and spirit, not just body, then you can go and check that out. And that's on the YouTube channel for Can Be Well. And if you go to the playlist for mental health, you'll find it there. And Denise is also published in the journal that comes with that event. And she has a full write-up which describes it. And that might give you a better background. So, okay. So we have that piece. Then we have the other part, which is, the medical model will come through with, make sure you get plenty of rest, make sure you're hydrated, eat your fruits and vegetables, balanced meal, lots of color. We have all these things that they say we should be doing. And a lot of us are doing it, but we still don't feel like we've got the vibrancy we want. Do you want to talk a little bit, Kate, about how that's not the picture of a maintenance program, a body maintenance program, but more of a guideline for living?
Right. Well, everybody looks at, okay, I'm going to go out and walk my 4,000 steps. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to eat a good breakfast. I'm going to meditate, do things like that. That's all good. That's good to do. That sets the mind intention. But true body maintenance is listening, as I said before, to the body in order to balance it. So what do I do? What do I do? I get up in the morning and I have from this book, and I'm going to say it, this book has a 2-minute energy balance in it. And the 2-minute energy balance gets me, and I rub all these points for switching and balance of my front and back meridians. I cross crawl to get my brain synchronized. Those are things that I do. I rub points from the neurolymphatic reflexes. I hold the neurovasculars on my head, and I hum for nitric acid so that I can create it in my body. I also use a tuning fork. So that's another thing that I do to help move energy in my body. Those are just part of it. In books that both Denise and I have written and watched and studied, all these techniques you can do without taking a class. You just need the book. Figure out that if I rub a point, if you understand that if you rub a point, an acupressure point, for instance, an acupuncture point, and that's going to stimulate vitality. That's stomach 36. It'll help with vitality. Large intestine 4, that's going to go, what I call a go point, and it gets you moving. And so these are things that I used to give my athletes all the time because they'd have their daily ritual for their sport. And I never forget one time my high jumper was standing out on the field and I was sitting on the sideline. I was watching him rub stomach 36 and pump large intestine 4, and he was going through the whole routine before he actually ran and jumped. So I said, "Ooh, he does it." And when you see something like that, that stimulates you to know that what you're doing is teaching it and people are picking it up. Bob Stavertlik from the U.S. Olympic volleyball team. I'll never forget this. I was in, they were playing, I think, Argentina or some team in San Diego, and my daughter and I went to the game. And as we watched him, I watched Bob rub points on the floor, and I started laughing, of course. And I watched him, and then he turned up, he heard me, and he looked up and he goes, "Yes." And Bob, I met when he was 25 years old, when he was on his way to Seoul, South Korea for the Olympics, later on to Barcelona. And he wrote a wonderful phrase on the back of the book for me, is that, you really need to step outside your comfort zone to understand that these things that may not seem in the normal medical model, but have so much to offer you in the way of your health care, but any gain you want in health and performance and recovery. And I watched them all, every athlete I've ever watched, and helped, I go and I watch them, and I'm always amazed at the end of the race how much better their body still feels, other than tiredness, but how they feel. That's body maintenance, because they're stepping outside that comfort zone to follow a ritual that will help them run the race, something done during the race in order to help them, and then also in recovery at the end of the race. But you can do that. When I went to the Better Breathers Association in San Diego, these people were told they're going to die. This isn't going to work for you. This was told to them by doctors. And as an ex-respiratory therapist, I said, well, let's go past that. And I watched every single one of them get better, just with the simplicity of quality of life, by learning how to breathe correctly, how to rub points so that they could raise their arms above their head. And I thought, it's like, if this happens to these people, what is it going to do for everybody else? I always call everybody an athlete. I don't care if you're a couch potato or whatever. If your finger does this, you're an athlete. Any movement is an athlete. So specialized kinesiology through Touch for Health, through muscle tuners, through any other association that offers classes, or just the books themselves. You can do this. It isn't just for practitioners, and that's why Dr. Thie did what he did. Put all that together so that you can do it. And you don't have to read the whole book to find something that you need. But body maintenance is a necessity. It's just like the carpal tunnel book. If you do everything that I wrote in that book, you won't have it. And I also want to say this, 99% in the 90s, 99% of the people that were diagnosed with carpal tunnel did not have carpal tunnel. They have a muscular skeletal disorder. That's it. Think about how everything works, how the alignment is, how a pinched nerve occurs, and how muscle tension creates this. So if you can back it up and work this yourself through the steps in the book, then you won't have the symptoms anymore. You just have a muscular skeletal disorder. When I was in Canada, one of the interesting things that I did, one of the seminars, was a lot of people came in with wrist braces on. And so part of my thing is take them off, because we're going to walk through those 12 steps. And it was so funny to listen to the elbows popping and people's going, "Oh, did you hear that?" It doesn't hurt anymore. Blood flow, their arms turned red. They all of a sudden felt the warmth in their arms. And when it was all over, the trash can, and I wish I'd taken a picture, but the trash can was full of wrist braces. They all walked out without them because they didn't need them anymore. That was an extremely unbelievable, amazing experience for me up in Vancouver, Canada, because people got it. And that was such a simple thing to show them how to self-align themselves and how to self-massage themselves. So regular body maintenance on a day-to-day thing, if I sit at a computer, I do this, you know. Another thing, my daughter works on a computer. When she was going to school, she took classes and she had a computer class. And this girl sitting next to her says, "Oh, I hope I don't get carpal tunnel." And Carissa starts laughing. And she was my first model for my first book. And she's, "Oh, don't worry. My mom knows how to fix this stuff." So, and she says, "I can help you later." So she knows, she helps people at work now. I find that interesting. And everybody helping everybody else. That's what this specialized kinesiology does. Is it helps one person, it helps another, that person teaches another, and it just keeps going. And that's what the world needs right now, is this special touch that we can all offer and others can offer too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As people are listening, Kate's referred to specialized kinesiology, and in Canada, we call it bioenergetic wellness. And so I just want to bring that out because if people go, how will I find this? If that's where it can be a little bit tricky because of terminology. But some of the words that have come out so far, we have Touch for Health in there. We have Brain Gym. We have Muscle Tuners International with Therapeutic Touch. There are different organizations which have different tools. So I want to bring that forward. But I also want to bring forward the bioenergetic wellness piece because there is a formula that we work with that provides the greatest shifts. And so we can have some of the tools available, but if we use the formula just walks us straight through because we set our goal for where we want to be. And it can be pain relief, but it can be other things too. And so I'm going to turn the table over to Denise to talk a little bit about a bioenergetic wellness plan, some of the things that people can think of including in there.
Well, thanks. The ball's in my court, literally.
I bought one of those.
So this is an energy ball that you can usually find. You can find these online. They're called an energy ball, science toy. Found it, at my local Science World. And it has a few little contacts on the bottom. And there's a little battery and a light. So in a moment, this thing's going to glow and make a noise. So please don't be shocked. Be amazed instead. So who here knows that when you turn on a light switch when you walk into a room, the switch causes two pieces of metal to contact one another so the electrical current can flow and turn on the light, or it flows to the outlet in the radio or the lamp, whatever it is. It's that basic. We take it for granted in our lives, our modern lives, that electricity is just there in the wall, sitting dormant until you activate it by getting the pieces to connect. So with this ball, if I activate this side and this side at the same time, but I'm not a piece of metal. I am, why is this working? Right? This is conductivity. This is the moisture in my fingertips. The electricity comes through me, through the other contact, and it turns on the light. So I had an experience when I was very young. My mother passed away when I was, quite young. But one of the weird things she taught me was if you see somebody with a butter knife in the electrical outlet, don't go, and you see that they're getting a shock, don't go pull them off or you're going to get the shock. Well, after both our parents passed away, our second parent had passed away, I had a family dinner with my siblings and I went, I have a burning question. Why would Mom have taught me that when I was like 8 years old or something? And one of my brothers goes, oh, that would have been because of me. And I'm going, but you're 10 years older than me. Why, what? And he goes, well, yeah, I used to stick the butter knife in the outlet. And I go, why would you do that? And he says, because I like the tingle. But what my mother had taught me is that electricity flows through the other person to the person that's grounding them, and then they feel the shock. And we have this principle in our own bodies. And when I teach a class, I gave a presentation the other day to a room of about 34 women in downtown Vancouver, and they were just absolutely amazed. I said, let's all stand around the room, hold hands. I'll touch here. You beside me touch the other side. And she touched the other side. Everybody's holding hands and the ball starts to light up. And everybody's like shocked. And then I say, somebody let go. And like 5 people let go and it stopped. And then they all played with holding hands, letting go, and why? And it's because when we're all connected, we're connecting to one another's biofields. So I wanted to set that up, that we are electrical beings. It's an electrical signal going from our brain to say, bend your finger, open the fridge door, do whatever it is, sit down. There's all these coordinations. They're all electrical signals that are at a very low voltage. And because there's such a low voltage, it's really challenging to track some of the energy work that we all do, anybody that does bioenergetic approaches. So with that being said, we have flows of energy in our body, and sometimes they get blocked. And I will often show this to new clients and say, I'm going to do a thing called muscle testing. And it's evaluating whether the energy is running from your brain to your muscles. It looks like we're testing the strength of your muscles, but we're not. And so I show them the ball and I say, see, like I had charming Puerto Rican colleague come to a conference once, and they were so cute. They were saying, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, it's just from Canada, we don't hear people speaking in that accent. And I'm totally mangling it, and I'm sorry, but I have to do it for effect, because they're going, when we work, we show people how the energy is connect or is disconnect. And I'll never forget that. And so that's what we do, Kate and I and you, Michelle, and all our colleagues, is we're identifying using bioenergetic tools such as muscle testing, which is one of them, to get an awareness, which is part of the wellness formula. You have an intention to go, I would like to improve with this, have an awareness of, oops, that's not really working very well. There's the action piece where you do something. There's a recalibration, remeasurement piece. I just do it so innately and intuitively. And I know, Michelle, that part of your doctorate was identifying what that is. And it's very discrete steps that we follow in this model. And the cool thing about a model is it's a way of expressing something that just works. And then we can take that model and apply it to other areas and other situations. I don't know if I answered your question properly.
You did.
But like the talk I gave at the mental wellness day, anything you do that supports the physical body, the structure, it automatically has an effect on our emotions and the biochemistry of our body. So biochemistry can be our nutrition. How is our cells using our nutrition? Anything you do to improve nutrition, if you have had a lousy diet, you start bringing nutrition supplementation, better foods into your diet, better hydration, it improves your mood. Hello. And your mood can have you sit up straighter. So any aspect of that triad of health that you put some attention on, some awareness that, wow, I'm a little bit out of balance there. You do a little bit there. You can affect everything. You don't have to do everything all at once. Work on the short side, so to speak. Build that one up.
Mm-hmm. So you've brought in, we're electrical beings. We have circuits. When the circuits aren't working, we have symptoms. Those symptoms could be emotional. They could be something to do with the way we're living our lives. So we call that kind of spiritual. And then it could be physical. And that physical could have a biochemistry component to it or a biophysics. So we have all these ways we could look at it, and that's not just going to that physical piece. So we have ways to interact. When we use the opportunity of biofeedback, using the muscle monitoring, we can actually go into the important pieces. What does the body need from us? Where can we find it? What are the tools that will best support? And this provides us with an opportunity to not guess at it or guess using, in the past, when I've worked with people with this problem, this usually works for them. And then with time, you might feel better. Instead, what we have is, here's what you need. Here's what your body's saying it would like. And then what we can do from there. All right, I'm seeing the sun come around.
Oh, are you getting lit up?
I'm getting lit up from the sun. Yeah, as it's coming through.
I need to interrupt for a second because I cannot tell you how many times people know there's something wrong with them and their doctors are saying there's nothing wrong. But you're not feeling the vitality. You're not feeling the strength. You're flat. You're like not maybe depressed, but the doctors are saying I've run all the tests and there's nothing wrong. And I found a collaborator. We're doing a trilogy with her too about you're not alone. It's not all in your head, because that's basically where the doctors are going. The medical tests are saying can't find anything wrong. It's all in your head. And I have so many examples of how that is not true. It's just that they don't have the awareness of what to check to find out where the energy is disconnected in the body, because the energy pathways, they nourish all our internal organs. And if the energy is disconnected on a meridian or a muscle's not working properly, they're connected, and they're connected to an organ, they're connected to a gland. And so, like Kate says, if you rub an acupressure point, or you rub what's called a neurolymphatic reflex, which means it's a reflex that connects to the nervous system, and you switch it on, it's like turning on the light switch. A neurovascular, well, instead of working with the lymph system, you're saying, how's the blood flow going in this area that I'm examining or assessing? It can be that simple as to reboot a circuit breaker or reset a switch, turn the switch on. So I wanted to finish my piece because it can be that simple. And I'm sorry, the medical people are fabulous when you're broken. You're literally broken. I'm so grateful to have had them in my life, my family's life. We've all had an occasion to need medical doctor, hospitalization, things like that for trauma. However, if it's just caused by lifestyle, well, a doctor is powerless.
And I want to bring forward the idea too that you introduced, which is when somebody says to you, it's in your head, right? And what is your immediate reaction? It is not in my head. So then you're almost in a challenge of, I've got to prove to you that it's not, which some people go that route. And then they spend a lot of time in appointments and meetings and specialists trying to prove that piece. But the other part is it can also shut you down, because then you go, well, it's all in my head. And then you just flatten and the energy drops out of you, which leads to other things. So looking at it and going, I always say to people I work with, let's celebrate it. It is not physical. They can't find anything. Fantastic. That means we are in control. We have the capability to do something different. And then people realize the power that they now have in their hands. The medical model could rule out anything physical. And now we know, let's dive into the tools that come out of bioenergetic wellness. Let's see what we can do with them. So this takes us around, Kate, to the next part, which is, what does a new wellness model look like? Because as we're introducing all these ideas to those people listening, they haven't been thinking this way before. So what does a model of wellness look like? Do you think you can bring us forward with some ideas on that? No weight there.
I can only go by my own medical model. You grow up in a Western medical model and you work in a hospital and you see the things that go on, and yet when you hit critical places. And I watched a lot of things that I wish I didn't know today because I saw stuff that was ridiculous that was done to people. And when I finally got into holistic health and understood that I had control, that I could take care of myself, but it isn't all just in massage school. It's other things. I remember, especially since I have never done this before, I tried everything. I mean, anything that was presented to me, I tried it because that's the only way you're going to know what works for you. I want to say to people, don't give up, because I hurt myself really bad about 6 years ago on a bicycle accident. And I do have frequency machines, so I was lucky I had it because it's really helped me get back. But where I was located at that time wasn't a whole lot of practitioners that I could get that understood what I needed. And it didn't help. I kept going. I mean, I knew what I needed, but I used what I had and I did the best I could. And I'm still doing it. And I'm still not exactly all great because of the things that kept happening all the time. But I'm the best I've been in a long time because of the other things that I've just been exposed to that I can do for myself. And that's the biggest thing in holistic health paradigm, is that don't give up. Just because it didn't work with this one practitioner doesn't mean it won't work with another one. So my paradigm is, I have my own ritual that I do in the morning. Figure out what your ritual is, not just, like I said before, exercise and meditation, but what else can you do? Can you rub neural lymphatics? Can you do everything that I put in a daily ritual? What's your daily ritual? Create it. Don't be afraid to buy books in the self-help section or the bioenergetic sections of your library, or go into your libraries or your bookstores. Ask questions. Ask questions of Michelle and Denise in Canada. Send them emails. I'm more than happy to answer questions for people, and I do that a lot, actually. But it's so funny. I remember giving we're talking at a conference in San Diego for women. And I'm always amazed. And this, of course, is back in the 90s, so it's still evolving. And even with what I knew then, I was still, and today, I can say that for today, I'm amazed at what people still don't know about holistic health, about self-care, and about bioenergetic techniques, or even frequency therapies. Nobody knows anything in this country. They keep it well hidden due to lots of issues that can happen. If you go to Europe, or you go overseas, which I have, you'll be surprised what's there. It's standard. It's very open. But you still keep going. You develop what you think is going to work. And it's all trial and error. If you feel better from rubbing a point, keep doing it then. Keep rubbing a point. If you, like, I just got a tuning fork and I've been using a tuning fork to decrease cortisol levels, that's very interesting because it's working. I've done it on several clients and people, and it's working, and they got their own tuning fork. And so I muscle test them when they come in. You're strong. Everything's connecting. So it's really good. It's wonderful to watch them take a step toward self-care. And, that's, I mean, I don't even know where to start to tell you what to get. Denise has lots of techniques through Muscle Tuners. There's Touch for Health has them. All the bioenergetic kinesiology schools and practitioners that are around today. Just write one of them, call them, and find out. One of the things that I've been doing a lot with people is I talk about balance. I read an article recently that for seniors that it was instead of doing all your exercise stuff, this person was focusing on neurological for balance. And I remember a neurosurgeon talking one time that said the biggest issue for seniors and for people of any age actually is your vestibular system, your balance center. And if you can't do certain things, that tells you about the longevity, but it also tells you about the health of your body. So, work on those types of things that if you have, and look it all up, look it up. I have a spinning device, so I spin on it, and it's up on YouTube, and you can look at it, called the RevCore Pro. And I do that, not today, I didn't have time, but I do it daily. And that helps with vision, it helps with your core muscles, it helps with your eyesight. I've taken it and proved it. And it's 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 just as I don't even know. I've done this for so long now. I got almost 40 years into this part of this holistic, paradigm. And every day is new because I always meet somebody that has never experienced it. And one wonderful thing is my grandson, who's allowed me to work with him, and every day he's stronger and stronger, and he's recognizing what grandma does has helped him overcome some things, has his own tuning fork. He told me the other day he does it morning and night now. Oh, good. So I see the shifts in somebody, you know. Touch is another big thing. So if you can go and you can just help just one person, you've achieved a lot because that person is going to help another person because they know it works for them. So the paradigm for your medical model or your holistic model is to keep trying to find what works for you. Read books, read mine, read Denise's, read Michelle's, read everybody's book that has something new to offer. I have so many, books on these techniques that are so fun to pass on. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, is that there are a lot of resources out there. And it is a matter of just putting your hand on one. So I'm going to bring around, I'm going to bring two things around. I'm going to say one thing, which is when I got my hands on tools, then I played with that tool. I might play with it all week long to figure out what it did for me. And then it would kind of go to the side as the next tool. It's like the next shiny object. But the next tool would come and I'd play with it until it kind of went to the side and something else came in. But it doesn't mean I ever abandoned a tool, because those tools come up all the time, but I know where to place them based on the time I spent with them. And so I just wanted to bring that idea forward. I want to bring around a conversation now for you, Denise, in that looking at some of these things, because people go into a ritual, which means they could stack up 25 things, or they do the habit stacking, thinking the more the better. But it isn't necessarily that we need that. So do you want to talk a little bit about establishing a routine or a ritual, but that it can vary, and what kinds of things you might want to put into it?
Right. So, first of all, when my eyeballs open, I had discovered the power of gratitude. No matter what's going on in my life, I've learned that my days just go better when I go, thank you that I'm on the world able to do what I love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How great that I get to do this again today. And a ritual I have, which I hadn't really thought was a ritual, but it is when I get dressed, I am standing when I put my socks on. Most people, from what I understand, who are I'm getting close to my mid-60s now. I understand most people sit down to put their socks on. And I get an awareness right away. Oh, my equilibrium's off. I can't lift the one leg as high as it's hard to reach over and get my sock on. I'm not as coordinated. It's a fabulous little assessment. And that's basically a ritual for me to, when I get dressed, I put my pants on one leg at a time and my socks, same thing. And I just observe. And then I know I've got to do something to strengthen my quad or, this muscle or that muscle, or something's going on in my lower back. So I can get on it sooner before I bend over to pick up the proverbial paperclip and all of a sudden, oh, we're back. So that happens to be a ritual it's my canary. And I've since learned that, yes, it's a great predictor for how well you'll age, is your equilibrium and all these things that Kate had mentioned earlier. And one thing that's so quick and easy and costs no money and doesn't take excessive effort if your body's relatively put together okay, you don't have injuries, is to purposely move all your limbs and all your parts in all the ranges of motions, gently and safely. Like if you start at your head, watch your neck if you have a tricky neck, but bending the neck down like chin to the chest several times, look at eyes to the sky several times, lean to your shoulder a few times, right? Do that to the other side. Move down. You can move your arms up on an angle, straight up in front of you, straight out to the side, kind of wave it back a little bit. Do that several times each. Do it on the other side. Same thing for the legs. Everything you can do, get creative. Get the leg going this way, this way, out on an angle, right? Just move in a purposeful way and engage your trunk and engage your back muscles. And just move. I recommend minimum of 3, preferred 5, or 5 movements per. So 5 repetitions per movement. What Muscle Tuners has found in very casual research is when we activate all our muscles to the best of our ability, and especially if you've been injured. Like this side goes, wee, no problem. But this side's kind of like, just do your best. Do your best. Do what you can. You're waking up those electrical circuits in your brain. You're waking up meridian pathways. And our research shows that if we muscle test certain indicator muscles at the start and then say, do all these movements, and then we check with muscle checking later, all the muscles now are checking in. They're connected. So it's a really great ritual. Some days there's good music on the clock radio. I jump out of bed and I start moving my body just as I've described. I go through every single possible movement I can think of. And it takes about 8 minutes. So I go through 2 or 3 cycles of, most songs are about 3 minutes. And if it goes to talk radio, I just tune it out and I just keep going. For self-care and body maintenance, it really makes a difference. There's a couple other things that can be done, a little too technical to explain on this podcast, but we all have self-help resources that we share with others. So reach out if you're curious about that. And I just like to really start with the gratitude piece. And same thing, when you go to bed at night, thank you that I was able to do something that brought my heart pleasure today and served others. That's really important to me. And I believe that it sets you up for success the next day that you get to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So people may be doing parts of those things, but this might be a better way to dive in and really develop it. And the other piece is that I'd like to add in there is quality. So what kind of quality do I want to my day? I might not know my goal. I might know my goal. So maybe my goal is I have a few things I want to accomplish in the day, or I'm working towards like Kate, the athletes you work with, they've got in the distance, they've got that race that they're training for. So I may have something that way. But then I go back to the quality of my day. So I might need to be creative or artistic. Maybe I need to be relaxed and calm. Maybe I have something that's going to be really taxing mentally. So I need to have open clarity. Then I know peppermint tea is going to be a choice. So the opportunity to bring a little bit of that in is always great for me when I start my day. And when I start with movement, I don't know about it for both of you, but when I start with movement, everything in the day is smooth. It's the most incredible thing. And if I choose to sit down at my computer and dive right into the first thing that my head comes up with, it's going to take me longer to get things done. And it just really transforms the day. Yeah. Okay. So we've given some ideas about how we can be different with this. And then we start to grow some skills on understanding the body language that is coming to us. And as we move forward, we're now going to be able to, in the next part of the podcast, so as we move to the third part, we're going to be able to look at what this new model can mean for you and how you can advance what you're doing into a much more productive way. And that's going to really start to pull all of the symptomology away and some of those niggly things you haven't even thought about that you don't realize are holding on to you. So as we get curious about that, Kate, can you help everybody to think about a couple of ways of noticing that they might not have been doing before? What's some good observations that you have for your body?
For my body.
It could be for your mind.
Yeah, I have both. I was going to say body, mind. If whatever I feel physically, there's always what I call an emotional tag to it. So I hold my ESR points on my forehead. I breathe
Which is
deeply and
fingertips
try
on
to
the
release
forehead.
all that. Exactly. So you're just lightly holding them. And a lot of people say, well, how long do I know how to do that? And so I would say to somebody, when you're really stressed out, if you put your fingertips on your pads on your forehead, usually a stressed out person goes blah, 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 blah. But after a while, it goes boom, boom, boom as you hold it. And that's how you can kind of assess yourself. Is everything working better? And a lot of times with stress, sometimes we're flying out somewhere else. We're not present. And so if you hold your forehead in the back of your head, that keeps you in present time. So just know that you need to stay present and stay there. When I look at what I do, I start with breathing. Breathing always for me and rubbing my neurolymphatic for my diaphragm and releasing stuff. I like to get in touch with the whole vital chi of my body. And I can feel all the breath go down through me, and I visualize that. That is important to me. I know what I did for a living before, but you find that breathing gives you oxygen. It releases carbon dioxide. It releases toxins throughout every cell. And when you rub neurolymphatic reflex points along with that, you not only detox all your cells, you get organs and glands at the same time along with muscles. And so those are things that are simple. I want to say that if anybody wants a free copy of the neurolymphatic reflexes and my carpal tunnel thing, I will gladly send it to you via email. And if you go katemontgomery@me.com or contact Michelle, I can easily send it to you because those are things that are simple to do. I will send you all the instructions, but it's simple. It's not hard. 90% of the people that I've ever worked with, I don't even know, never met, never seen. And the results are always so much fun to hear back from them. And that's what I want to offer because that's a starting point for you. And it's tried and true. You can contact any of us and we can all guide you. But those are the simple things, just be grateful that you sat and listened to this today, because we have been in the field for a long time. We represent a lot of people that are following in our shoes or have been before us, and it's a nonstop crusade of people coming into this world now that are looking for this as their medical model. Natural healing through your own touch is what's going to save this world, but save everybody that you know, and that your children and your family members. And it's just amazing. I just think back of all my clients, who I talked about before in the other podcast, who helped their friends, who stole my books, who who were so grateful and felt. And what's fun about it is that when they are so happy that they did something that could help somebody, and they didn't take a class for it, they just did it. That's what makes it all best, is that it was effortless, and they got great results. So that's all I want to say, because it's worth it, and don't be afraid to try.
I'm reminded of a dancer of mine, and at the time she probably was maybe 7, and they were playing in the park, and somebody fell off the monkey bars, and her mom was watching through the window, but she went over and she started tracing figure 8 patterns over top of the little person that was lying there crying. And in 60 seconds, that little person stopped crying, jumped up, and was ready to play again. And she had fixed the problem. And that's what we want the next generation doing, knowing how to put fingertips on foreheads to calm emotions, and to realize, like you said, as an awareness technique, when you've brought the calmness in, and not waiting for, I've got to go back to mom or to dad to help us get through this situation. Instead, they're empowered. They already know what they need. Yeah.
Can I say one more thing? A long time ago, I went to a music festival, and some of the firefighters that were there, firemen, were playing in a pool down in one of the stream beds, and one of them jumped off, a lady jumped off a boulder into the stream and hurt her shoulder, dislocated it actually. Well, they called for the doctor, but somebody came and got me. I had no idea why. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I was working with musicians, but anyway. So I go over there and I start talking to her, and I start testing, and I'm scanning, and I'm working on her, and I'm rubbing points, and I'm doing things. And unbeknownst to me, I had a crowd. I did not know that the medical model was watching me, and the doctor still hadn't come yet. So in the middle of doing all this, I got her shoulder to pop back in. Collarbone went right back in, and everything. And all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, I'm not in pain." And then she started moving her arm, and she pretty much had full range of motion. And then the doctor came and he says, "Well, what do I need to do?" "Oh, we're done now. She's already been fixed." And so, and so it was, and then I turned around and saw a lot of people standing there watching what I did. And the one, paramedic said to me, "I wish we could do that when we're out with people, because it would save so much time." That stuck with me, and they're not allowed to even go near it. So thank you for letting me say this, but it's, when you do something like this in front of people, and you make such a big difference, it holds value, and people see it, and they all start questioning, and they all start looking for more things that they can learn themselves.
I'm just thinking about, when we get word that somebody's had an accident, or somebody's been ill, or somebody's going in for an operation. I have a lot of that because I work with a lot of seniors, and the whole group, we just put those people into the center of our Tai Chi practice, and we offer whatever they need, they can take. And those people might not know that that's what we've done. But when they go, in their mind, oh, if I could just have, we've already provided the energy that's sitting there for that to be able to happen. And it's just an empowering piece, but it also brings that empowerment to the person that even though someone may not ask, you can see somebody's in pain. You can see someone has a challenge. And from a distance, you can be very helpful. And that can be important. And in an emergency situation as well, because that whole crowd watching could easily have fingertips on foreheads, calming the emotion for the person who's been hurt, but all of the people who are involved with that person. And that can change the dynamics of the room. Just so simple. So we have provided you with a lot of tools today as we've gone through our conversations. You've heard about neurolymphatics, you've heard about neurovasculars, emotional stress release points, cross crawls. That's just the tip of the iceberg of things we've talked about. So if that is of interest to you, then you know that you can go to Denise at Muscle Tuners International. She has a YouTube channel as well as her website, which will provide you with the opportunity to see the resources she has. Kate, she's given you her email address, so katemontgomery@me.com. And that gives you access to please send me the neurovascular chart as well as the carpal tunnel protocol. So you know those resources are available. We mentioned today Can Be Well. So that's the organization that Denise and I work with, the Canadian Association of Bioenergetic Wellness, canbewell.org. You can go to the website, but you can also go to the YouTube channel. And there are over 100 videos in there, resource tools. And if the idea of the mental health activities that we just did in the last few weeks are of something of interest to you, there's an entire playlist sitting there with, I think there's almost 25 videos on that playlist. So that's just one playlist. So we have a lot of resources that are available that you can really start to dive into these tools. And when you join us for the next part of the trilogy, we're going to dive in deeper into some of these concepts that make what we do so special, but also so profound as they shift quickly. So thank you everyone for listening. I know that our tea played a huge role in the herbs that came along for the ride and the intention we set at the beginning. And as you think about the gifts that you have, that you can start to share out, all of us are going to create that ripple effect. And with that, I'll say cheers. Thank you, Kate and Denise, for another wonderful conversation. And I look forward to the third part. All right. Be well, everyone. And we will see you for the next podcast. Take care. Thank you for listening to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell. There are a couple of resources I want to just point out. When you go to the website, greenwellcenter.com, you'll have a pop-up window. That pop-up gives you the top 8 easy stress releasers that you can use every day. That's something you can put beside your computer, the bathroom mirror, beside the bedside table. A great resource. Also, my YouTube channel. It is full of playlists with all kinds of different ways that you can activate energy and bring vitality into your day. You can find that when you go to YouTube at Michelle Greenwell. And last, if you're a Linktree person, Linktree, linktr.ee/Greenwell Center. That has all my resources in one spot. Those are for intricate little things that you can't get everywhere. And it's a wonderful way for me to be able to share all the different aspects of the kind of work I do. So thank you for listening. Be sure to drink that tea. And if you want to have the tea blend that was shared in the podcast today, then be sure to check out capebretontea.ca. Have a wonderful day.